I'd now like to welcome Marian.
Kia ora tātou. Ko kōti mana, rawa ko airangi, rawa ko tēnei maka, rawa ko enārani te iwi, ko Dr. Marian McDonald tōku ingoa. The name of my paper is Academic Women's Experiences of Challenge and Resistance in Tertiary Education in Aotearoa, New Zealand. This is my PhD. I graduated last year. I want to thank my supervisors, Professor Joanna Kidman, and senior lecturers Andrew Mulligan and Sue Cornforth. The image represents the imbalance of power that women have in academia. Kia ora, next slide. Rena, could you do that? I'm neurodiverse and too many things at once. It doesn't work. This is the working definition of feminist research. It is a piece of feminist research that I undertook. It's about an intellectual commitment to political movement to dismantle oppression of all forms: racism, ableism, homophobia, sexism, ageism, classism, to name a few. Next one, please. The theoretical background to my thesis was that I used intersectionality. Intersectionality links to the far image there. That's the Arc de Triomphe from on top. It's a ring road that's fed in by lots of different roads, and so it's just like the individual group is in the middle and all the forces of power converge in on the individual, whether that's race, gender, class. I used Yuval Davis 2018's view of intersectionality as conceptualising power comprising of those intersecting forces. These intersecting forces exist and collide with one another, adding and intensifying their impacts. I was interested in the exploration of how these intersections collided together in the lives of the academic women that I interviewed. These forces are irreducible. Yuval Davis 2006 and 7 describes intersectionality as having divisions in the social world and having common characteristics that connect with and affect each other along axes of injustice. In my thesis, I used this definition of intersectionality the interlocking systems of power to add and mesh together on the women. That thing drives me crazy. Pretty much what happens is it's pretty complicated, and the more intersections or how deep those intersections are, the more complicated and more tricky things women have to navigate. I also used multiple identities, Hare 1991, so that middle image represents the two versions of self that Hare says make up a personhood. So the internal self is like that inner circle, and that's what occurs inside the people's self. And then there's the self that we present to the world. That's self 2. And that's like you can see in the image there, that looking out, and that there, the second image on this, the third image on this side represents the internal self down the bottom and all the different multiple roles that these women that I interviewed had in academia. Next slide, please. So, I'm a social worker. I've been a social worker for 36 years, so a long time. And in social work, we're very eclectic. That means we like to gather things. And we do the same with ideas. So it wasn't surprising to me that I had an eclectic view of power. In particular, I used Foucault's ideas around resistance and transgression of power, and we certainly have seen a lot of resistance and transgression of power lately. So, yeah, which has been awesome as a Pākehā as well. I was interested in his ideas about what happens when people become subjected to systems that they're involved in, and it helped to understand what happens when women join institutions and then become subjected to the institution and become subjects of the institution. In addition, I looked at Collins and Bilger's ideas around intersectionality and the experience of discrimination that occurs through interlocking systems and other influences of power that form a mesh of oppression on someone. The next slide, please. These are my research questions. In particular, I was interested in the academic woman's experiences and the strategies they use to navigate power within academia. Next slide, please. This is my positioning. So the maps at the top represent Scotland, Ireland, Denmark, and the one with the lions represents England. That's through my grandmother. I have some English whakapapa. It doesn't particularly sit well with the other, particularly the Irish and the Scottish, and so I do align with my Irish and Scottish side, probably it's more than anything else. In addition, I'm an academic woman. I have worked at Aotearoa 21 plus years. In that time, I've definitely explored my own whiteness and my cultural roots. I have 36 years as a social worker, and I'm a dyslexic, neurodiverse academic. Next slide, please. So these are just a couple of things in terms of the rationale. My thesis was very long. Brewer and James did a study in New Zealand academic institutions, and they found that over the course of a career that women earn $400,000 less than men. They debunked the myth that occurred because women take time off for their family. That actually isn't true. And that was not the reason why they didn't earn less, and that men actually have double the chances of promotion than women. And so academia is a pretty chilly climate. Women face discrimination, gender bias, lack of opportunities, and the lack of validation of their knowledge and skills. Amsler and Motto 2019 and Anston and Young 2015. Next slide, please. These are my participants. I had 14 women. Half of them were Māori, and you can see unspecified there. Happy to answer a question on that later. There were 3 different types of institutions and 3 different locations and a variety of work experience. One woman pulled out. I can tell you about that later. Methodology. Yes, next slide, sorry. So this is a piece of feminist, qualitative feminist analysis. It was about women. I was a woman researcher, and I was honouring women's telling their stories and experiences, and I had women supervisors, and I was interested in speaking back to power. In addition to that, I did thematic analysis and intersectionality. Next slide, please. Given that I've got 2 minutes to go. Pretty obvious, women experience significant discrimination in academic institutions, and that was true across all the academic institutions, which included a Māori institution. Women navigated intersections of power of race, gender, age, economic class, social and personal spheres of their lives, and academic hierarchy. They had a range of strategies, and I have a copy of some of the strategies, so you can come and ask me for them. That to navigate that, part of what I created was this shape-shifting woman, because one of the key parts I found out was that women were really good adapters to situations, and so my supervisors and I created this idea of a shape-shifting woman. That's an image I drew. The smaller image inside is bringing along with them in a collaborative way new women to academia, so they would be less harmed. At the other side there, I took that shape-shifting woman and I grouped the strategies that the woman had. Maori toe strategies were around humour, having an orientating mechanism, keeping your head down strategies with things like don't draw your attention to yourself because you don't want what comes with it. Belonging strategies were about leaning in and bringing others with you, and resistance strategies were about power in numbers, developing battle plans before you go to meetings, and ignoring bad behaviour. Kia ora.